Section 4. How much to bet. The other half of the secret, the most complicated part. I can sum this up in a sentence or two, but most people have trouble visualizing exactly what I mean on one or more points. So I'm really going to go through this thoroughly with some example charts and everything. But if you're a genius, I'll say it like this. You just have to bet each team to end up ahead 1 unit based on how far away they are from being 1 game over 500, or on the first bet from being 1-0. And this goes for solely at home, solely on the road, and also overall. And if you can get it completely from that, you can skip right to Section 5. But for the rest of you, I'll go a little more step by step with some charts to help out. We are going to bet on the good teams we picked out right when the season starts, but only until they win 1 more than they lose. And that could be game 1. So, it's opening day, and you're ready to bet that first game. I'm making this video in February of 2026, so let's use the first MLB game as an example. The Yankees are probably going to be at play there. They will be on the road, but for right now, we're just going to look at this example as the Yankees overall, without worrying about home or road. So let's say the Yanks are at minus $1.40 in this game. If they were to be an underdog and it were possible to take plus 1.5 runs and lay something like 165, I would completely recommend that, instead of betting even money on them to win. The most important part of the Grail is getting wins, so I always take a reasonable points line and lay the odds. So, at minus 140, you'd bet 1.4 units to win 1 in that game. And again, how much that is, a literal 1.4 to win 1, or 7 to win 5, or 14 to 10, or 42 to win 30, or way more, that depends on your bankroll that I was talking about. And if the Yankees were to win, you would be up 1 unit, and that would be that. Maybe you can already see that you could bet them the same game as a road team for another 1.4 and be ahead 1 unit on the road as well. The Grail is as simple as finding 30 opportunities to win 1 more than you lose. But, you say, what if they lose? Then what? This is where the charts come in. Here's what it looks like when teams go 1-0. I keep track in Word docs. The green color is optional, but it's fun. And you can see how it would be a win for the road games only, too. And here's what to do when they don't win. Once a team goes 0-1, the plan to get ahead a unit is to get the team to go 2-1. Win 1 more than they lose, or hopefully 3-2. Sometimes it can take a while. So at first, at 0-1 and down 1.4 units, you'll want to try to win 2.4 units to get 1 unit ahead. But not all at once. Believe me, that's not a good plan. You'll want to bet to win 1.2 units on the next game, and if it wins, another 1.2 on the third game. This way they'll be 2-1, they'll have 1 more win than loss, and you'll be up 1 unit. Here's what it looks like on the chart. You can see in the odds column, where I also list the amount I bet to win the 1.2 units, that would go as a minus in the money column if they lose. I don't use the minus sign actually in my charts because everything is either a minus or it's plus 1.0. Now, if they should go 0-2, then you'll need to add up how far you are behind after the second game. It won't be that much. And then add 1 more unit. Don't forget your profit. That's the one you want to be ahead once your team has 1 more win than they have losses. So, you divide that total amount by 3 games. Here's a chart that looks like that. This is how it looks if they win 3 straight. Always nice. But again, you can see how it adds up. Lose the 1.6 on game 1, then bet 2.86 to win 1.3, which is half of your 2.6 goal at that point. But when it loses, down a total of 4.46 units. However, you just bet to win 1.82 3 times, and you are up to 1.0 in a blink, so to speak. This is how it looks if a team has a mixed start, but finally gets one over at 5-4. See how the amount you need to win only goes up after a loss? And it doesn't go up that much when you spread the loss out over a couple or 3 games. And this was the Dodgers. You could see them dropping 2 out of 3 at Philly, but you'd think you'd at least even it out against the Nats. But that's how it goes. It's harder to predict any given game, but easier to predict that the Dodgers will get hot sooner or later. Probably sooner. And then this is the Braves on the road last year. This is your worst case scenario, because if you let it play all the way out, sure, they'd be fine at 29-28, but you'd have been betting to win about 60 units near the end, and it would have taken a 300-unit bankroll to make one of the plays at -210. Should I have just stopped rather than hoping for a, at worst, 1-1 against the Mets there near the end, and thinking Oakland's going to bail me out? Well, the Braves would actually drop 2 of 3 against Oakland. So once again, game by game, hard to predict. Now, a few weeks later, they got healthy, and then they started winning like crazy. But the thing is, stopping anywhere in June would have been better. But you can't always get out at the best possible spot. But an okay spot will be fine. You see the -83 there, but there were all the others that won, knocking that down into just the high 40s for the season. Still bad, but not like losing everything. And there'll be plenty of good seasons where you have positive numbers to keep moving that bankroll unit up. So this isn't 100% a sure thing. Nothing is. But the plus 1.0 results will outweigh the occasional mid-size minus. Of course, if something does get out of hand, like with the 1-5 start that the Braves had, and they don't even it out and go up one fairly quickly, like back to 6 and 7 or 8 and 9, and then they get done in 4 or 6 more games, I generally start looking for an escape when it gets close to half the season, because you don't want to run out of games either. The big secret here is not to quit after a couple losses. As hard as it is when you get closer and closer, you have to quit after a win if you're going to quit. And don't kick yourself for making a bad choice once in a while. There are plenty you stick with that bail you out at 11-10 or 14-13, and that's usually the last one to cap a perfect season. Though, there's also no shame in getting out a game or 2 early and taking 20 or so units as a win for the season. So that is basically how it works. I may have underemphasized that you should play teams to win once overall, once as a home team, and once as a road team. So you will have 2 plays for each team in game 1 of the season. Also, from time to time, you'll bet on both sides of a game. But with plus 1.5 runs, you could win them both. But it's also not possible to go 0-2. So, while you might worry about a losing streak, having good teams and getting a bunch of 1-0 teams in the bank right away sure helps. Then it's just a matter of chasing down the rest one by one. It takes time, so be patient. You can only bet the one game that they play that day. Road teams are usually the stickiest, but once in a while it'll be the home side that just doesn't click. With good teams and just a little luck, you should be up about 30 units in just a few weeks or a little over a month, and then you can take a break until the next season starts. At this point, all that is left is to talk about the traps.